Hi everyone, it's Missy with The Thankful Creations. In this video, I'm going to show you how I use leather and my laser to make earrings and bracelets. I'm going to show you the products that I use, how I apply them, how I distress the paint, and how I stain them, how I seal them, and all of that stuff so you can use your own leather. So, most important thing is make sure you use vegetable tan leather. I get mine from Tandy Leather when I first started with leather, and I wanted to practice and I wanted it just little pieces. I went ahead and purchased their sample packs, and those are $4.99, I believe. And with those, you get an assortment of different like thicknesses and kinds of leather, and they were great for when I was starting out wanting to try designs or, selling like 1 or 2 pairs of earrings. But then, when you get an order for say 20 pairs of earrings of the same thing, then I needed more consistency. And so went back to Tandy Leather and explained to them what I needed, what I was doing. And they were so kind and helpful. And they helped me pick out some vegetable tan leather in a big sheet of it and rolled it up for me. I brought it home, and then I just cut pieces from it that fit in my laser. And it's actually cheaper per piece to do it that way than it is to buy the small remnants, and it's more consistent in quality. So let me show you what I mean. So this is just an assortment that I pulled that I had gotten in a sample pack, and this is super thin. You would not want to use this for like one earring. You could use this for like layering or trying something out, but I would not recommend using, it's less than 1 millimeter thick, using that as a standalone earring. And then here's some other pieces. So these 3 pieces are actually, I use the same stain for all of my projects. I've used the same stain. It's just how much water you add to it, what color you're gonna get. So the more water you add to it, the lighter it is. And then the less amount of water that you add, the darker it's gonna be. So this piece, I don't think I used any water at all. It's just pure stain. And I actually did the back too. And it's super hard. So if you find that your leather doesn't lay flat in your laser so you can cut it, what you can do is take a water bottle and just spritz the back of it lightly, and you can also spritz the front, and then it should lay flat, and then you can put your magnets down or whatever you use to hold your material down flat. It's important that it stays flat. So this, I added some water to it, and then this one, of course, I added some more, and they worked good. I really like the little remnant packs for, economical practice. And then also this came in it, and I was talking to one of the workers at the Tandy Leather once, and she told me that I should not be using the belly, which apparently this is what this is because it's stretchy. You don't want to use the belly because it stretches and it won't hold its shape. So just something to keep in mind. I purchased the shoulder. It was like $49 or $59 maybe. And so here's some pieces that I cut from my big roll. And you'll see that pretty much looks the same on the back, and then the front looks pretty much the same. Let's see, this, I believe mine is around 2.5 millimeters. It fluctuates a little bit. Again, it's a natural product, so it's not going to be perfectly the same. And then one thing I wanted to point out is make sure you take the time to do like tests to know what a good setting for cutting and engraving is. This, as you can see, has really good sharp lines where it cut out perfectly. But then this one, you can see has like the little strings, so it didn't cut out very well. And this makes it harder to finish your product after you pull it off the laser. So you're gonna have all those strings on the ends that you're gonna have to burnish and clean up so it's sellable and looks good. So just, making sure that your settings are good, and then being aware that the thickness of the leather might fluctuate even though it's the same piece of leather, and then taking that into account with your settings. So I just cut these on my laser, and so I spritzed the back of the leather with water, put it on my laser bed, put my magnets on to hold it down flat. I cut these out, and then I just took a little bit of water on a microfiber rag and wiped off the soot. So there's a little bit soot still. I don't really mind because I go for the distressed look. And then these I painted with a paint pen actually. So let's get into the paints that I use. So paint pens, I use this brand. I don't know how to say it. This is AR. I get them on Amazon. I really like them. This is the color I used on this. I just painted on like you would a paint marker or a paint pen, let it dry. And then also I use Angelus acrylic leather paint. I like these a lot. The coverage is really good. I usually only need to paint it once or twice. So some of my favorite colors, this is South Beach. That's actually what my bracelet is that's on. And then sand, I really like it. It's more of like a neutral color. And that's what this one is. And of course, all of these are distressed because I really like distressing things. So that's the sand color. Let's see. Red. Here's the red. And then I also use the paint pens and the, I also use Apple Barrel, actually, the cheap stuff from Walmart. It works great. I'll use that for like the details in my different designs, but I really like the paint pens. So all of this was done with paint pens. Here's some more. Here's another one. And all of these designs you can find in my Etsy shop on TheThankfulCreations. So, and then these earrings are just, they're cut and engraved on the laser, and then I stained them and sealed them and put them together. So these are super quick, super easy. They're really good for like, if you want to make multiples of the same thing. And then these, I actually just kind of finger paint. So I put some paint on my finger and then kind of dry brush it off, you know, like so it's not totally wet, and then just kind of rub it on. And I really like that look. And then these have stain like on the edges more than the inside. And I kind of like that. They kind of look grungy or old. And then these are kind of cool. So I saw this in another Facebook group and I had to try it. Actually created the file. I just haven't listed it yet. So you just cut out strips of leather and then you get the leather wet, and then you wrap it around like a wooden barbecue skewer and you put it in your oven and you bake them at the lowest temperature. And I think mine took like 10 minutes. And then when you pull them out, they are hard. They're permanently that shape. So those are kind of cool. I wanted to try some different colors. And then of course the flat ones are always good too. I have several of these in my shop. You just cut and engrave these and then paint if you want, or don't paint, whatever you want to do. And then also it's nice to cut your own leather tabs for earring connectors. You could do different colors for different earring colors. Lots of things that you can do with leather. So when I take it off the laser, again, I wipe the char off. And then this is the stain that I use. There's lots of different ones on the market. Just try. I just say try and see what you like. It's Phoebing's low VOC leather dye, dark brown. Again, this is the only leather dye that I have. And to get all these different colors, it just depends on how much water you add. So what I like to do is, here's my little cup of water. I'm going to give it a little shake and use this in a well-ventilated area because it does not smell good. And make sure it's totally dry if you're going to put your stuff back in the laser. So like for these bracelets and the one I have on, I painted, I let it dry, I sanded some of the paint off, I stained it, I let it dry, and then I put the finish on it, and then I threw it back in the laser and engraved the words on it. You can do it that way, or you can engrave the words when you're cutting it out. Just make sure you don't get the paint inside of the little engraved areas. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I stain. So I'm going to use a Q-tip because I'm just doing a couple of earrings for this video. But if I were doing a lot of things and staining a lot, I would use my my wool daubers. I just like how easy they are to apply the stain. So what I'm going to do is I have water in this little cup, and I'm just going to add some color to it, some stain. And then you can add as much as you want. I recommend if you're just doing one or two, like you're going to take them to a craft show and sell them, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're selling like on Etsy or some other place where you might sell 20 pair or 30 pair, then you're going to need to measure this out so that you can get the same color again. Okay, so once these are painted and they're distressed, I'm just going to use my Q-tip, get the excess off, and I'm just going to apply the stain. It's very simple. So everywhere that you distressed or sanded off the paint is going to take the stain better and be darker. And that's it. That's it for that one. And it really doesn't take much. Okay, that one's done. It just needs to dry so I can seal it. All right, and then I'm gonna show you how I paint. So I'm gonna use, I'd like to see what this shape looks like with the sand color. So I'm just gonna put some paint because I'm gonna use a paintbrush. And then in my file, if you buy this file, there's score lines, so you can run your paint up against the score line and it's not going to bleed into where you don't want any paint. Again, this is super easy and it dries pretty quick too. And you don't have to stain it if you don't want this stuff stained and distressed, then you really don't have to do that. All right, that one is done. And again, you can use paint markers. I even tried using an alcohol marker and I like that on it too. It's not as full coverage as like regular paint, but I like it and I would use it again. Or use whatever acrylic paint that you have. But I do like this Angelus acrylic paint. It's pretty good. All right. And those are good enough because I'm going to sand them. So while that's drying, I'm going to show you some tools for finishing the leather. So let me see here. So the backs of these are already finished, but what you're going to do is you are going to take a edge beveler. And again, the people at Tandy Leather helped me pick out what I needed. So this is an edge beveler and you just run it along the edge. And what it does is it makes it like a softer feel. So it's not going to irritate or rub. And it just gives it more of like a finished look to it. I really like using it on the bracelets for sure. And then a bit like these earrings, I won't use it on. The flat earrings, I normally don't use it on. But for these, I usually like to do it because it helps just get your earrings like to bend better. So I'll run it on those. Or like your connector tabs. So I'll show you how I use it. And this makes a mess. I don't usually do this at the same time as I'm painting, but I'll just show you. So you just run it along the edge like that. It takes off the edge. And then I don't do it at the top because I just need it to be bent. Okay, and so once you have that done, then you're gonna take this, I don't know how to say it, carnauba cream. Again, this is what was recommended to me by the people at Tandy. You take your carnauba cream, shake it up. You just take your finger or a cloth. I should have put it on a cloth. And then it just takes a little tiny bit. And then you just rub it on the edges. Both edges. And then you're going to take your wood slicker and you just put it in the groove that fits and you rub it back and forth and it makes the edge smooth. So I do this for all of my earrings, all of my bracelets. Just gives it a finished look. And it doesn't, you don't have to do it for very long. Okay. So then when that's done, and this is already sealed by the way. I'm going to show you how to seal when we do this. So now that that's done, now I want to put it on the back. And you can use your finger, but I find that it uses too much. And you only need a tiny, tiny little bit. So I just have like a piece of a t-shirt that we're not going to use anymore. So I just cut it up, use it as a rag. Put a tiny little bit on your rag. And then just rub it back and forth. And the more you use the rag and like it gets wet, but not like all in one spot, it works better. So if you're doing a big batch of things. So you just rub it on. And that's done. And what I like to do is while it's drying, I'll just make it in the shape that I want it to be. So if you want it flat, make sure it's flat. If you want it bent, just bend it. And then I just set them down sideways like that and let them dry. Okay, let's see. So these are dry enough that I can go ahead and sand them. I'm going to make a mess here, but this is just to show you on the video. So what I take is sandpaper, and I think I got these on Temu or AliExpress, I think, I don't remember. But just little sandpaper bits, or I have this sanding block, and I love these because once I get paint on it, if you try to sand something else, that paint's going to come off and get on whatever you're sanding. If it's not the same color, it's kind of a big deal. So these sanding blocks I think are with the drywall area of like a home improvement store, and you can just rinse it off and reuse it. And I've had these same blocks for years, so I just use it, rinse it, let it dry, then you can use it again. So I just like to rough up the edges, and really all you're doing is just sanding the paint off. And remember, anywhere that you sand the paint off is going to take the stain darker, so it's going to look really distressed, and I love that look. Okay, so once I got that on the edges, I like to take this piece and I'll fold it, and then I go in and I'll get the middle pieces. And there's no wrong or right way. I mean, it's distressed. You can do as much or as little as you want. And this also works for wood. So you can distress wood earrings, or I started making signs before jewelry, so I was distressing the frames and stuff. All right, so then I got that. So I'm going to go back with this, and I'm just going to rub it over it. Whoops. All right. And how much you distress it is totally up to you again. This one's going to be very distressed. All right. I'm gonna do the middle again. I've done the distressing where you layer colors too, so you can put a darker color underneath and then put a lighter color on top. So when you just sand it lightly, the darker color shows, and then you wouldn't even need to seal it, or you wouldn't even need to stain it. All right. Dropped it again. All right, I have made a major mess here, but that's okay. All right, I'm gonna sand this one a little bit more. All right, let's stain it. All right, and then those are done. All right, and then to seal, so I bought a kit at Tandy Leather that had some paint in it and a paintbrush set and this finisher and this deglazer. I don't use the deglazer. I think it's for like doing like tennis shoes or whatever that you want to paint. The satin acrylic finisher. I just use a paintbrush, shake it up, and then I use a paintbrush. And then I would let it dry longer than I did. But for this video, I'm just going to show you. So just put a paintbrush on, or put the sealer on with a paintbrush. And that's done. And then after that dries, then I'll do the edges and the back to seal it. So for bracelets, I like to seal with the carnauba wax. For earrings, I like to go back and I use this acrylic finisher. It just gives it, I don't know, more of like a permanent feel, where the carnauba wax kind of changes over time, I guess you could say. I don't really know. I like the carnauba wax because it doesn't make my bracelets super stiff. But as you can tell, once it dries, it's like kind of soft. So that's why I like that. So that's pretty much it. I think I've gone over everything. The distressing is super easy. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Just rough it up, take the paint off, and then throw some stain over it if you want, or layer some paint and then distress it that way. Super cute. That's it. So thank you.